Today we're talking about how many of the things that you take to cure you might actually be killing you in your dreams.
People who are supposed to heal us sometimes hurt us, and in some cases can kill us.
Shockingly, medical errors are the third leading cause of death.
The cure of whatever ailment you suffer from might be the cause of the actual ailment.
Just look at them, all sickly and lethargic. Our government scientists got together, crunched the numbers, possibly cashed some checks, and developed the modern marvel of nutrition, known as the food pyramid.
The cure is the cause. The cure is the cause. Why would that be? Well, the way things work, jobs, economies, drug dealers, you don't just want to cure somebody. You don't just want to give somebody a solution to a problem. You want to be a recurring solution. You want an installment plan of solutions.
Order Proactive and get the dark spot corrector free, a travel size green tea moisturizer, and our zit zapping refining mask.
I love the mask. It dries up the zits really fast.
We'll even add this book of secrets.
I got a boyfriend. It made me feel like a new person.
And if you've studied marketing at all, how it works, one of the first things you learn is that marketing is meant to convince you that you have a problem, or even better, give you a problem. And then they also provide the solution.
They tell us to make a safer cigarette. We do it, and then suddenly, that's not good enough.
Might as well be living in Russia.
Damn straight.
Orthopedic shoes. Oh, your shoes are wrong. Billions of years of evolution, or God's perfect design, gave you a bad foot. Your foot sucks.
An evolutionary biologist from Harvard, whose 2010 journal, Nature, concluded that barefoot running promotes a mid and forefoot strike first pattern, compared to a heel strike first pattern that a traditional cushioned running shoe promotes.
What you really need is a big 8-inch sole that bends upwards so you do this through the pavement.
Humans evolved running barefoot, so we should continue to.
Thank you for convincing me I have a problem I didn't know I had. And how convenient that you also have the solution. The surgeon who says, man, maybe I could just tell you to increase your physical health and you wouldn't need this back operation that fuses your entire spine together and is irreversible. But that back operation costs $100,000 and your insurance is gonna pay for it, so you'll just sign right off. And telling you to fix your health, I don't make many money off of that. And not only that, you don't really want to hear it. You, in a perverse way, would rather have your back fused together into sort of a bionic pole than dare get on a treadmill or take a walk. So I totally understand why we live in a world where people are providing bad information, bad cures. The problem is, I can't just sit you down and say, actually, you don't need anything that people tell you and swear that you need. You need none of it. It's all provided. The good life is free. The best things in life are free. Wealth, health, community, vitality, even peak experience. These are the things that make a good life. And not only are they free, a lot of times spending money to get them gets in the way. It's products, it's cures, it's, going to the doctor, it's putting on a skin cream, estrogenic suntan lotion that they rub all over their bodies. On and on and on. We are living life in a way that makes you wonder, how did our ancestors live 5 minutes without needing 15 cavities removed? How did they not get scoliosis and back problems? One of the rebuttals to that question is that, well, they died at 30, so it didn't matter. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a lie. Statistically, a lot of people have taken average lifespans to include infant mortality. So a lot of those statistics I've looked into have been skewed that way. And you gotta wonder why. Well, they want to convince us that without the benefits of modern technology, we would live harsh, short, brutal lives. If you read some people like I've covered on this channel, Sebastian Junger's Tribe, for example, I covered. Tribal life actually had a lot of perks. And we don't have many examples of tribal people getting cancer or diabetes or any of the things we spend a huge portion of our GDP trying to fix. You know, how much of our GDP goes to end of life care? The last 5 years of your life, preventing all these diseases from proliferating. Let's say the Tarahumara in Copper Canyon, Mexico. The people who inspired the book Born to Run, which first got people interested in this idea of barefoot running or minimalist shoes, which are now all over the place. I've got a 0 pair right here. This is the most minimalist you can get, unless you go full minimalist. See my little toe spacers? Spread out those toes like a monkey again.
Bunions. Crooked toes, what can we do about it? Welcome to Talking with Docs. I'm Dr. Brad Weenie.
So essentially what it is, a couple little poke holes, we do break the toe to realign it. Anytime you cut the skin, theoretical risk of infection, risk of bruising, stiffness, nerve injury, tendon injury, vessel injury. I think the big thing, because we are technically creating fractures in the foot in the sense, but we're breaking the bone. Risk of non-union, delayed union, malunions, small risk of blood clots after surgery. Everyone gets some type of DVT prophylaxis, which is just to prevent blood clots, and then chronic pain in the foot.
Okay, so while there are risks, like many surgical procedures we do, the risks are very, very, very small.
If you follow the Tarahumara, you're not gonna see a lot of dis-ease, a lot of bedridden people. You're gonna see healthy, vital people. They're jacked, suntanned, beautiful, no eczema, no hunchbacks. They're leaping over rocks and climbing trees and throwing spears 50 feet. It looks pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. So that question stuck in my head. What happened before toothpaste? Like, what did we do? You go to the dentist and they say you have 4 cavities. You've been brushing your teeth 3 times a day. You're like, what the heck?
You needed crowns on every single tooth except 3 of them?
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
But when Zook takes a look, he sees it pretty differently.
We talked about the idea of making a fluoride tray or bleaching tray and using the toothpaste to reduce the sensitivity.
That's it, at a cost of about $200.
What did people do? Well, you come to learn in Africa or in the Islamic world, they had one of these, a miswak stick. You rub it on your teeth all day. And it's got a little fluoride in there and some antimicrobial properties. Maybe they have a little salt water rinse, or their diet is full of less processed sugar, so they don't have the same cavity problems. But it's a path you start to go down. How come I didn't have acne until I started using, what's that famous acne one called? Pro something.
That's why I use Proactive.
Join Justin, use Proactive, and get control over those zits.
It's totally easy. It's like 1, 2, 3, done. It's pretty chill.
For a while there, MTV was literally sponsored by acne cream. Every single commercial was an acne cream. So you start to see why it's necessary that they push these $50 acne treatments on you. Without them, I guess you could say there'd be no MTV, and we'd never be able to watch teen pregnant moms suffer for our entertainment.
By looking at me, would you have thought that I've had a kid?
No.
Good.
You're gorgeous.
Can you still live like a teenager once you've become a mom?
That was my first opening up moment. I never had acne in my entire life. I never used really any face soap. I always thought that was weird. Have you washed your face? It's like I jumped in a lake, I don't know, no. And yet, never had a pimple, never had an issue. And then I started taking a bunch of Adderall, a psychotropic drug that a lab coat told me I needed because I really just liked to use it to study for tests. That got me eating a little less healthy, a little less active, and maybe I got 1 pimple. So I went all in on the acne treatment. I got the one that's for gentle skin, I got the other one, and there's a tonic, and then you rub the thing on, and then I got 2 or 3 pimples. And now I'm at the point where people are walking up to me. I remember a woman walked up to me in a Home Depot, and she just stopped me and says, hey, you need to put tea tree oil on your pimples. That'll solve it. I'm like, okay. So then I get some tea tree oil, I'm putting that on there. So I'm doing all these cures, and it's making the acne worse and worse and worse until I'm hideous. My face is full of pus-filled, oozing, bubonic plague-style lesions. Finally, one day, I just kind of tapped out. I said, I'm not gonna do anything. I stopped taking the Adderall. I stopped going to college. I took a time out. I stopped. We always want to move faster in one direction when we have a problem, but if you're moving in the wrong direction, sometimes the best thing to do is stop. That's what I did. I stopped all the face stuff, and I stopped all the amphetamines, and lo and behold, in a few months, my face was back to perfect, and I've never had an issue with it again. So that got me wondering, this whole skincare industry, it relies on us having acne, and yet no tribal people have acne. For the longest time in our history, you maybe get a little acne when you're going through puberty, but then it goes away. Okay, so where did this problem come from? And why is it so much worse now that we have these supposed cures? We've got a bit of a conflict, don't we? Skincare has lost me and anyone who listens to me. I don't know, maybe they'll come after this video. My happiness relies on their bottom line dropping. That's not good. That's a spiritual war. That's an economic war. But where else can we find it? Well, the second example I wanted to bring up actually got me into making this video in the first place. Diet. The biggest names in the primal, ancestral diet, ancestral health community are people like Mark Sisson. He wrote a book called Primal Blueprint. He's got 5 primal books. So, lo and behold, you can make some money sharing the Earth's cures. And another one, more recent, Paul Saladino in the diet space. Remember the primal diet? Let's imagine what people actually ate in a tribe, in a tribal setting, when you're surrounding the campfire. And Paul Saladino's kind of continued with that train of thought. I think it's a really good question to ask. A lot of people I meet, they're like the no-nonsense types. They really got invested in their carb counting or their ketosis, macronutrients, Mark Hyman style, you need 500 supplements. They got really invested in that, and why wouldn't you if you spent so much money on it?
He's been open about spending an average of $2 million a year on some of the world's most exclusive health treatments.
They might say, well, that's just stupid. We've evolved past that diet, but we also evolved to eat that diet. So just help me with the intuitive sense that that makes and why all of a sudden making up synthetic supplements that are expensive is the way to go. So if we follow their train of thought, it's like this. You would be a hunter or gatherer. You would kill an animal. That would be the happiest day of your week. Anybody who's watched Bear Grylls has a show where men and women tried to survive on different islands. This was like Survivor if there weren't a bunch of obstacle course games and, you know, a gauntlet to keep you from being voted out and the tribal council. They took all that out and they just dropped them somewhere and said, survive. What you notice is that these city folks, if they kill an animal, it could be a woman who you would never expect.
Oh, you're committed. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Okay.
This time, they're prepared and have sharp weapons for the kill.
Stabbing a knife through a pig's throat, and she would do it and then feel sort of like a connection to that animal, and she wouldn't be crying, she'd be saying thank you, and she'd be so happy.
I don't know why I'm laughing, I'm nervous.
It's complete adrenaline.
Wow.
Good work, team. It's quite amazing, wasn't it, really? I'll never forget this.
What a day.
And then they cook the animal and they share it, and you can see the life coming back to their faces and their, you know, as the vitamin D kind of spread through their body.
That fresh, that's a rib. It's literally get the meat in my mouth now and don't take it away.
This pig may be my salvation.
You're going to turn it round now. This will help you.
The pork's providing the women with a valuable source of protein, fat, vitamins, minerals.
In a tribal setting, that would have especially included organs, right? You see a wolf pack surround an animal. It's kind of interesting that the alpha wolf comes over and goes very specifically for the liver, right? It's not an accident. That can't be an accident. It's because the liver is like the kale of the animal product world. It's full of nutrients and minerals. So you start to get a hierarchy based on what animals and what human beings prefer. Organs, meat, honey and fruit, or some people put honey above that. Honey was like the ticket. And then tubers, what we would call vegetables, grains, things like that. They would be at the bottom. I'm hungry enough, I guess I'll eat it. The irony is that we have inverted that.
You can see the base of the pyramid was composed of that which you should be eating the most of. Grains, carbs, and lots of them. 6 to 11 servings a day. Next in line was fruits and vegetables with 2 to 4 and 3 to 5 servings a day, respectively. Meats and dairy were next in line with 2 to 3 servings a day. And finally, fats, oils, and sugars.
The nutrition pyramid that we were told to follow growing up is the opposite of true. We're not supposed to eat grains and vegetables and things that are incredibly hard to digest.
Today we're going to talk about anti-nutrients in vegetables and other foods
that are full of toxins and defense chemicals to not be eaten. This idea I got from philosophy before I was a nutrition buff. I was really interested in how the color of apples co-evolved with us. Coevolution is a really interesting concept. So an apple became more red to stand out to the red cones in our eyes so that it could be eaten, digested, and its seed could be planted somewhere else in a nice dung pile. How interesting is that? It wants to be more nutritious, more tasty for us because we serve a role of spreading its seed out so it can cover a vaster territory. That kind of win-win in our food makes sense. Now instead of like a leaf doesn't want to be eaten. Why? Because the leaf is how the plant receives its energy through photosynthesis. The more leaves you eat, like all those caterpillars and all those giraffes, if you eat all the leaves, the plant dies, the tree dies. So a leaf is full of many things that are meant to poison us. And in that coevolution, you know, our stomachs or our immune systems got better at dealing with those toxins. And if you're a cow, for instance, you need 4 different stomachs so that you can deal with all the toxins that are in grass. Makes sense, right? This is the evolutionary arms race. You're either dealing with all the things that are trying to kill you, or you're finding symbiotic relationships with the life around you that can be win-win. The win-win relationships, like with fruit, are generally healthier because the fruit doesn't have to develop a bunch of weapons against you to not be eaten. It wants to be eaten and spread. Meat, same thing. You can't fill your own muscles with poison. You'd be walking around with poison all day. So muscles, livers, things like this, they just haven't developed the same mechanisms to be inedible. This diet idea just makes intuitive sense. You could explain it to a 5-year-old. And that's why some of the no-nonsense guys, the science guys, don't like it. They actually love the fact that they have memorized the vehicle with which selenium enters your body when it's in a bioavailable capsule taken without calcium at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you got blood work 10 times to make sure. They love nerding out like that because they've spent all the time learning it. You come around and tell them, actually, just eat meat and fruit and get out in the sun, and I'll probably be sexier and healthier than you. I'll be Mr. Steal Your Girl. They're not gonna like that. Who would? That's a bummer. If you were just a little more dumb, you might be healthier. If you hadn't thought so much, you might have just done what felt right and natural to your body and people have done forever and gotten a better result. That's another conflict that we're entering into. The experts who have a nice gatekeepers around their knowledge and the dummies who basically headbutt their way through life, they are always going to be the antithesis of the 18 years of schooling, highly gatekept, huge upfront investment population that needs you to pay for all of their choices. And $500,000 in student debts. They need you to pay them a premium so that they are not debt slaves. Painting the picture of the groundwork here. So I've given you a couple examples. Diet and skincare. This is just kind of the order I went in. I'll include a third one. Feet, shoes, clothing. As I've gotten older, my desire has been to be more naked. Isn't it great? To be in the elements. I notice I'm a little bit weird in that department. If I go outside barefoot, which I do now, people have a lot of questions. What if you step on a rock? What if it gets cold? What if it gets infected? What if this? What if that? As a little kid, I'll never forget the feeling of playing tag, or we called it manhunt. It's like a more intense version of tag. And you'd have your shoes on, right? And you'd be trying to run down your friend, sort of symbolically murder them. I think that's what the game was about. And so you're running them down and you're smelling them and you're catching them, but you can't get there. And then you pop those shoes off and something happens. You hit that ground with a different intensity. Your toes coil around the soil, propelling you forward like a leopard. And you run them down and they are they're it. That was a feeling I'd never forgotten. And you know, you play soccer and you stick your foot into that little pointed shoe, but it's got some nice cleats on it, right? So maybe that makes up for it. But never quite felt the same as just that gallop. I always had a kind of romantic, childlike love of barefootedness. So recently, how did I get into this? Let me think. For some reason, I just didn't like my toes curling up like I was a woman in China in the 1500s, trying to have nice foot-bound feet, you know, be a sex symbol for 16th century Chinese men. I didn't like that idea. I don't like the way the little one coils over the other one, you know? So you just look at them, you don't like it. Any kid, you get somebody to draw a foot. It's never drawn like an actual foot, you know, it's not like that. It's like this. That's what a foot is supposed to be. When I see my very active friends and their foots look like this, I just didn't like it. So I got into this idea of, let me get some of these, you know, toe spacers. Let me get some open-toed, zero-drop shoes. Cool. I watch a video of the nice couple who started that company. No sponsorship. I'm hell-bent on making no money off of these videos for some reason. It's like St. Paul in the Bible. He said, I'll be a tent maker so that when I preach the good news, I don't have to charge a dime for it. I'm the same way. I don't want to share my deepest wisdom for money. I'll make money doing all sorts of stuff for people, which I do. Then over here, it can be pure. But I watched a video and this guy says, how to walk was the name of the video. Ooh, that intrigued me.
A more natural, optimal way to walk.
I'm walking wrong? You know, I had to do this when I became a runner. I realized I was heel slapping. So I watched a video. You're running wrong. You're supposed to do it on the balls of your feet.
In fact, there are runners who at full speed, they can run across ice without a problem, because when you're running at full speed, you're pretty much landing with your foot underneath your center of mass. The next problem with overstriding is that when you actually are putting the brakes on, you're also sending a spike of force through your joints.
Now I'm learning I'm walking incorrectly. Once again, heel striking. Because I'm used to wearing shoes that have big padded soles in the back that arch up. What you're really supposed to do is, it's almost like a ninja walk. You sort of prance. You lean forward and your foot falls. Your foot falls flat. And what's kind of cool about it is as you're walking, you can speed up just by leaning forward a little bit. You just create that momentum and your feet kind of or you can go nice and slow. And you can accelerate or decelerate really evenly. Whereas if you're wearing shoes, it's kind of like, it's not as ninja-like. So look at me, I'm getting so interested in the simplest thing, like a meditation around walking. And then I'm learning when my bare foot touches a rock, there's so many nerves leading up to my brain that I don't even smash on the rock. I touch it and my foot just stops. Imagine if your hands, if you could punch a nail from a wall and the moment you touch the edge of the nail, the hand just stopped. You know, normally like momentum, you would push that nail through your whole fist. But the foot is much more intelligent. You could kick and then it just stops. It's almost like those miter saws. They've got this technology where if you put your finger in it, it just stops immediately. Your foot has that. So I started getting into this and then I realized, wow, barefoot walking actually allowing you to sort of sit with better posture into your spine. Some people think if you have back problems, simply walking barefoot could help alleviate them. Not to mention bunions, problems with your feet, things like this. All of these cures come from just not wearing a shoe, which is supposed to be the cure. This is a totally new paradigm. Our whole paradigm is something's wrong, I have to do more. This paradigm is something's wrong, I have to do less. I have to stop trying to fix it and just go back to basics. Shoe companies aren't gonna like that, right? I mean, how many guys, I interviewed a guy for the channel who had a whole collection of Jordans. He had met his girlfriend off of his shoe collection. They identified so much with their shoe that they fell in love or lust. I don't know, they're not married yet, so it could just be a fetish. Famously, you know, the Sex and the City style city girl is gonna have a closet full of shoes. So not only do we think that these things fix our problems, but we're deeply identifying with them. We're like Pokemon trainers, gotta catch them all. I gotta catch all the shoes. I've gotta use all the face creams. I've gotta eat all the different foods that technology has invented. Not just stick with eggs and meat and fruit, a little bit of yogurt and, you know, the classics, which is what I eat mostly. So now we've got a problem of disidentifying with many of these products that have been expertly marketed to us by people like Freud's lineage. What was his name? Edward Bernays.
He turned to the writings of his uncle Sigmund, and the picture of hidden irrational forces inside human beings fascinated him. He wondered whether he might make money by manipulating the unconscious.
You know, this idea of identity-driven marketing and how it's changed. He came from the Freuds, so he said, let's find out what's deeply in your subconscious desires, and we'll convince women that smoking a cigarette is liberation.
He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
And from that point forward, the sale of cigarettes to women began to rise. He had made them socially acceptable with a single symbolic act.
We'll create all this mind control, all these positive associations with negative things. It's pretty sinister when you think about it. And so checking out of that system, that awakening moment I had when I realized, when I just stopped putting stuff on my face, it returned to the ebullient, beautiful majesty, shiny cheeks. And the more I've gone down that path, the more I've realized it's not just about saving the money, and you do save a tremendous amount of money. It's not just about looking beautiful. I'm out here in the sunlight. I'm gonna be sun-kissed. I'm gonna be shiny. I'm going to be full of vitamins and minerals that make me virile. I'm not wearing polyester underwear, so my bulge is going to be signaling fertility. My barefoot feet are going to be pointing in 5 different directions at once. What's up with you? What's up with you? What's up with you? What's up with you? Almost calling people out to join my tribe. What else? I mean, look at my hair. What do you think I do with this beautiful mane? What I do is I roll out of bed, wash my hands. I don't feel like using a napkin, so I go like this. And that's my hair care routine. And it's glorious, and it doesn't smell bad. There are a lot of moments where I really give props to Paul Saladino, because he went beyond diet, and he was the guy who was like, you can just brush your teeth with hot water. You don't need a million different things.
I eat meat, I eat raw milk, I eat egg yolks. I eat a lot of honey, and I don't get cavities. I haven't had a cavity in 25 years.
And that's the riskiest one. I wouldn't even advocate that to anyone else. I'm experimenting with the miswak stick. I do coconut oil pulling. I've tried out baking soda and definitely salt, mineral salt rinses. So I'm experimenting with it because the biggest con job is from dentists. They did a big investigative report. The guy would just find out how many cavities he had, and he would go to second and third opinions, and he found out that majority of the time they were just making it up. Can you imagine somebody like dentists, by the way, highest suicide rate? Dentists are the ones who kill rhinos to put their heads on the wall.
The Minnesota dentist who killed Cecil the lion in Zimbabwe is speaking out for the first time since the controversial hunt. Walter Palmer insists he did nothing wrong.
This is a group of people that's suffering, for sure. Can you imagine just so you could get a bigger boat or an extension on your house or another rhino head. You are drilling into people's teeth when there's no reason to do it just to make an extra 1,500 bucks. These are dark trades. These are dark trades we're making. And so I would look into that. I can't make that decision for you, but I would look into more minimalist approaches to dental care. I would look into the fact that there's a no poo movement. No shampoo, maybe just use conditioner. Apple cider vinegar, oil, you know, you rinse it out. Just experiment with more natural alternatives, things people would have done. Everyone who does it is just like, wow, look at these curls. They look kind of the way people go to a hairdresser and put all sorts of chemicals in them to look. But here I am looking like I have pomade when I don't, just Devonade. So to get back to that dentist and that devil's bargain, I want to speak to that real quick. Let's say you're in the grips of, I need to sell people a false cure in order to make money. Just break it down for me. I already did a video on how to become a millionaire by not doing that. By just simply embracing all of these free solutions, the free ways to get peak experience, health, wealth, community, the things that actually make us happy. I've already broken that down for you. But let's say you just can't help it. You just want to get the girl, get the guy. Well, I can speak from my experience that if you put me in a room with 20 dentists, I'm leaving with that girl's number before then. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what would happen if you put me in a room with Andrew Tate and he had his Bugatti? And you're like, Devin, your little Tarzan shtick isn't gonna work with the Bugatti. Women love Bugattis. I've actually never heard a woman mention a Bugatti. It's only Andrew Tate. But let's say that's true. I'm in a room with Andrew Tate. First of all, I have nothing to gain from that room. Definitely don't need a Bugatti. If anything, I want like a Sprinter van that I can kind of turn into something cool. And then some land in Big Bear, which I can like Airbnb and raise 6 children in and teach them my philosophy and proved having children should only cost about $100 because they don't eat as much as us and they can wear each other's clothes like I did. And I want to prove that the most expensive thing in reality, children, is supposed to be not only cheap, but save you money. People used to have kids in order to have some hands to help around the house or the farm. Free labor. I want to get child rearing back to that. I meet so many people who make $150K a year and they're like, how could I afford kids? I don't know, how does that crazy homeless woman have like 4? You know, she's a crack addict. She can't be that expensive, but that's tangential. So I go in there with 0 outcome in mind. I make friends with everybody. I'm listening as much as I'm talking. I'm free and funny, and I become friends with Andrew Tate first. That's my secret. You know, you don't go for the pretty girl. You become friends with the guys first, bring their defenses down. Then you talk to the less attractive women. They need a little love. They haven't gotten, you know, first billing in their entire lives, so they appreciate it. You know, that's the beautiful mind technique. Remember Beautiful Mind? He said, don't go for the prettiest girl. Go for the second prettiest girl.
If we all go for the blonde, we block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for her friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way, and we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win.
That was like the first pickup artist was Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind. So I'm talking to the mid girl, I'm talking to Andrew, I'm talking to his videographer. You know, I'm just making friends, I don't care. Who's gonna leave with somebody? Or who's gonna have somebody go home and write an article about how you sexually harass them? I don't know. I'm not bold enough to say me, but my experience has taught me that there are a lot of people in my life who have rolled up in a Corvette and literally the girl left to get in my 1994 Toyota Camry. When you're not focused on adorning the Christmas tree of your life, putting all these status symbols on it, all this work, all this hustle, all this me, you're just existing and you're fun to be around. For men, for women, for children, you know, little children come out. I always say if children and dogs like you, You just have that energy. And you know, I'm surprised the dog hasn't run up now. Come to the park, they just come up. They're like, this is one of us. Maybe not for Andrew Tate, but definitely for the dentist. Bro, that's not gonna get you what you want. Getting an extra extension on your house so that your wife can take it in a divorce is not gonna get you what you want. So why not become the first dentist who just goes, actually, this miswalk stick works pretty well, and if it's more fun for you, do it. Let's really think about how your diet might be causing you to have all this teeth pain. I have a mechanic. Mechanics are the other ones. Everybody's afraid to go to a mechanic because you don't know what's going on under the hood unless you do. But when you have one that comes up to you and says, you got nothing wrong, don't listen to anybody. You don't have to pay me $1 today. That's the guy I like to give a couple $100 to. Just reward that behavior of not always forcing you into an intervention, but just going, actually, you're good. I put some fresh oil and fluids in there so it's even healthier, but drive away. You know, my mechanic now is my surrogate father, my black surrogate father figure. My black surrogate father fixes my car. And he seems to work off of love. I have to pay him more. I have to be like, take a tip, because he'll really just charge next to nothing. And he's the happiest man I've ever met. He's 85 years old. He could lift a car over his head. He came out of a coma miraculously and lived. He's got kids all over the world, you know, a couple too many. He's got more game than I do. He flirts everywhere he goes. I'm not saying he's perfect, okay? A lot of these virile men have a crutch, and his is talking to pretty girls everywhere. But he's an 86-year-old dude, and he's getting some. So there really is no benefit to buying into the modern fairy tale of believe that you never have enough, rely on corporations and products and status symbols to somehow give yourself some value when your value you were born with. Remember back in school, we as kids never went, who's got the most value in this class? I don't know, who's got the coolest clothes or the coolest car? No, we say, who do I like being around? Who's got a fun vibe? Who laughs easily and makes me laugh? Who's helpful? Who's fun? Who's got cool ideas? Who is a yes person, you know? Should we jump in the creek? He's already in there, or she. You know, remember holding somebody's hand? That energy travels down your whole body. Ah! And now we've sort of commodified that. The point is that the cure is the cause of your dysfunction. And the path to freedom is a return to before the cure ever existed. A return to realizing, wow, my foot is a perfect piece of technology. No shoe, no robot foot ever invented can do what my foot can do. The grass. I haven't even gotten into grounding. You know, there's some hippy dippy entailments of this life philosophy that you can enjoy or not enjoy. But when you realize that when I touch the ground, there is an incredible exchange of polarity. You know, my body is a battery, and it is grounded in the same way that any electronic with a grounding rod is grounded. What does that mean? I don't know. But it's a change. And it's a change that people would have been doing all day. Why is it that, you know, Andrew Huberman's going out there going, the best thing you can possibly do is look at the sun for a couple minutes in the morning. Forget your coffee. We look at that and we go, hippy dippy, no chance, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how's he making money off of that? Like, why would he say that if there wasn't some validity to it? Don't we all feel a little bit different when we're next to the ocean looking at the sun? Or when our feet are in the grass? Why is the saying, go touch grass? Don't we all intuitively know that yes, no pharmaceutical can touch this? I don't know. I'm just saying be open, because this has never given me acne all over my face that made me look like a leper. It's never given me depression. It's never emptied my bank account. Getting back to a more Tarzan-like existence has helped me be a person where straight men are giving me compliments, no homo. They're saying, I like your body. I like your energy. Please talk to me more about your spirituality. Hey, can I have your number? Can we go on a platonic hike together? What? Women are attracted. And yet I'm attracted to purity and the idea of a family. So I'm not addictively craving them. Money is becoming more abundant, primarily through the fact that I'm spending less of it and investing more. I have several people who tell me, and I tell them, that we love each other every week. These are true fruits, and just like a real fruit, they fall freely from the tree. I would encourage you to make a list of the real fruits in your life. What are those moments you don't have to use as a status symbol? You just use them as ends in themselves. What are those moments? And then make another list. What are the obstacles getting in the way? My rent, my mortgage, my unloving relationship, my addiction to promotion. What is getting in the way of you having those fruits? And a lot of times it'll be something that was marketed to you as a solution, and it became an impediment. It became a cast. I wish you luck in that journey. And if you like this video, I wish you would like and subscribe to it so that more people can see it and so that you can see more. Living a minimal life has allowed me to do one of my great loves, which is not only writing, but sharing ideas using every one of my organs. The mouth, the references, the jokes. I love how multimedia allows you to do that. Did I cover everything? Pretty much. I won't mention therapy, but that's another good one. How many times have I had a partner who went to therapy to work on our relationship, and it ended after the first session. It's like, going to therapy to improve my relationship, and my relationship is over. Therapy is another good example of talking and hyperfixating on yourself as a solution, when really it's just another addiction, taking you away from some of the things that could bring you to true fulfillment. So, because this is a pattern, I hope it leads to some of your own thoughts. I'd love for you to share examples in your life when an intervention or a cure has actually caused you more grief than it's helped with. And we can start a dialogue on that. But until next time, go outside and touch grass. You'll love it.